Hey everybody, this is Melissa from VMs.net, and I wanted to try something a little different today. I'm actually starting with one slide to tell you about what I'm going to talk about, so be sure to leave a comment and let me know if you want just straight up demo videos. Here's all the how-to, or if you want to talk a little bit about what we're going to see first. I want to talk about Veeam ONE ransomware monitoring capabilities. I've done a lot of work with this lately. I have a white paper that's going through the publishing process, but I want to focus on a couple key points today. First of all, there's a couple out-of-the-box Veeam ONE ransomware alarms. There's a VM level alarm called Possible Ransomware Activity, and what it looks at is CPU usage and your data store write rate or network transmit rate. And then what it says is, okay, if my CPU is high and either data store or network is doing a lot of writing or transmitting, hey, let's flag that as ransomware. So that's the first out-of-the-box alarm. The second out-of-the-box alarm looks at your backup and replication environment. What that is Suspicious Incremental Backup Size. Looks at the increment size of your backups. You can base it off of percentage or a data size like gigabytes, your choice. And when Veeam ONE sees that the increment has grown a certain amount, it will flag it for you. Now, these alarms come out of the box and they are fully customizable. Once we go to the lab, I will show you how to change all that kind of stuff. And just a couple of other things to keep in mind when you're looking for ransomware in Veeam ONE, right? You can baseline your applications and then customize all these alarms. You can add to or modify these alarms, or you can build completely custom alarms. Once you have an alarm set in your environment, you can also set something called a remediation action. So you can have Veeam ONE take action when an alarm is triggered, and this can be fully automated or by approval. So we could have someone actually have to go in there and click, okay, remediate this action. So now let's head on over to the lab and take a look at what some of this stuff looks like. Okay, so now we're in the lab. I'm looking at some of the VMs in my vCenter, and you can see that possible ransomware activity test alarm has been triggered. So let's take a look here. And if I click on this alarm here, I can come over to my alarms view and take a closer look at all the alarms I have. Now, I'm actually going to go to the out-of-the-box version of the alarm. This is one I copied and tweaked, and I set the thresholds really, really low so I can make sure that it triggered for you. So let's go look for ransomware. And we have the possible ransomware activity alarm here. Let's just go edit it. Now, what are the rules? So these are the default thresholds out of the box. It's looking at CPU usage, warn you at 70%, 80% over a time period, like so a prolonged time period, meaning it's doing something. This is all tweakable. And it's looking at either or of these conditions. So data store write rate, I can't say that for some reason, and network transmit rate. And here are the default thresholds. So warn at 40 megs in both cases, error at 60. So if you knew a good profile of your application, you could say, hey, I know my CPU runs usually at 30%, so I'm going to set my trigger to 40 and 50%, et cetera, et cetera. So really customizable. I know we've talked about this in other videos, but if we come back to infrastructure view, we can take a look at all our VMs and what they're doing, their CPU rate. See, something weird happened right here on September 28th. So that's indicative of maybe it happens monthly in my environment, or maybe it's something I need to take a closer look at. But other than that, you can see the baseline is actually pretty stable and we're not seeing much variation here. So maybe we should create some alarms based off this baseline. The next thing I want to take a look at is head over to business view, right? So if we remember, business view is our logical grouping of VMs, and I have a bunch of groups in here. So let's scroll through this real quick and fix and what we're going to go. We're going to go to my beloved TPM02 application, right? And you can see I have a bunch of things triggered, and I have one created here called number of services. Now, this is something that I actually created myself. So let's go over to here. And let's say show history. Actually, I only have it showing once. Ooh, that's pretty good though. So it actually shows you how many services are running. So there's 97 running services, and I have a threshold of 17 set. So let's take a closer look at that alarm and talk through some of that logic. So let's put in number of services. It's right here. Edit. And let's take a look, right? So if I have a specific application and I know this application's profile is it has 15 services running, I can actually put an alarm in Veeam ONE just saying that. And again, there's so many different things we can actually alert on. We're going to look at running services. If I'm above, our number is 15, right? So I'm going to warn on 16, warn on 17, or maybe I just want to error out on 16 because 15 is my application's profile. Veeam ONE will let me know, right? So let's look at how I have this assigned. I have this assigned to my business view group for my application because I know that application has a specific profile. Notifications don't have any set up. One of these days I will get to it. But what I have here is a remediation action. And I love remediation actions because it's a way for Veeam ONE to automatically take action. Now remember, we have about 10 alarms out of the box that have predefined remediation actions, but you can put anything you want in here. So if you look, I have a PowerShell script, and if we scroll to my script name, it's basically disconnect network adapter, and that %2 means I'm just passing the name of the VM to Veeam ONE to run that script, and execution type by approval. Why did I set it to by approval instead of automatic, right? So if I'm disconnecting a network card, that's potentially disruptive to production. So I might want someone to come in and actually approve it in Veeam ONE instead of having it automatically happen. If you're comfortable with, hey, maybe I have ransomware or something is going on, automatically disconnect it. Again, you can set that removal action to automatic. Of course, you can suppress alarms during certain time periods, and I put a little knowledge base article in here. TPM, here's a typo, TPM O2 application servers have 15 running processes. This alarm indicates a new process has started. Cause is unknown. Please investigate. We don't know why this is happening. Someone take a look. Resolution. This alarm has a remediation action which will automatically disconnect the VM from the network. Like I said here, I actually had it set to by approval, but we could switch it to automatic, no big deal. And when the alarm is triggered, it will automatically disconnect it from the network. Really handy. And again, you can kind of make Veeam ONE do anything you want it to. So what if we head back to business view real quick? I just want to show you some more about kind of application profiling and that kind of stuff. So we're going to use our TPM02 application. It's our favorite example. We can see all of the VMs in our application, but what's really cool is if you come over here to CPU and you can see my chart options are set to child VMs, we can see all of the different VMs and their profiles, right? So we can see some run hotter than others, right? Some run, look, we can see percentages. So, some are pretty much in this baseline here, a couple run hot, whatever. And then we can build a bunch of custom alarms based on what we're seeing here. So you could create alarms and assign them to a VM level. We could put another group of, TPM02 applications hot, right? For those VMs have CPUs that run higher. So really the possibilities are kind of endless in here. Again, we can look at other stuff in there. We can look at memory utilization. We can look at network utilization. Pretty quiet on the network front, right? So this is something we might want to dive in deeper because we do see some increased network transmit rates here. So we might want to say, hey, okay, our VMs are transmitting a lot of traffic. Is that something expected? Is that normal? Or do we need to take a closer look? So Veeam ONE is also a great tool to help profile your applications and learn how they work. A lot of sysadmins know, everybody has their favorite tool, but a lot of times you learn the applications you're supporting. And just by looking at a graph like this, you can tell, hey, something is not right in my environment. Something looks out of norm. Something looks different. So Veeam ONE is there to help you with that too. Let's head over to data protection view and talk a little bit more about what we can do with data protection view. So the thing we're going to think about here, and this is my favorite backup and replication server because I have a favorite for some strange reason. What we're looking for is a suspicious incremental backup size. So we can see, okay, description, here's a couple of my VMs that have triggered it. Look at the defined thresholds, they're 200%, but we could change that. If I look at the repeat count of this alarm, it actually tells you all of the VMs are triggering it and what the increments are. So that's something that's really important, right? So let's go take a closer look at that alarm. So we click into it here. And again, we can make a copy of it and tweak it if you wanted to apply it different places to a different BNR server. Maybe you have different profiles of different servers and you want to apply it there. That's cool too. But let's look at the rules. So interesting, we have warning 150% or 200%, and that's relative, so we're looking at percentage over time, but we could actually go right to absolute and make it the actual change rate in gigabytes, right? So we might not want to do percentage, but we know, okay, XYZ application, this is the rate they write data, right? We know this application has a 5 gigabyte change rate versus a percentage. We could change that as well here. So again, we don't have any actions for this. If you wanted to take action, you could do so. Let's see, what's something creative you could do? Okay, so we could write a cool script that would trigger a sure backup job on that latest backup of that VM. And when you configure a sure backup job, there's actually an option in there to run an antivirus check. So we could do that. We could run that job automatically with that flag and then have BNR scan it, right? And make sure that there isn't ransomware. That would be a pretty simple script to write. You could do it right in PowerShell and add here. Knowledge base, again, I love these knowledge bases. They tell us everything that's going on. While we're looking at our data protection view, I want to talk about one more really cool feature, and that's Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics, right? So here are a ton of alarms. They're all predefined, and they have a lot of things that Veeam support is seeing in the environment or known issues, right? Known configuration issues that many customers are calling in with, all that good stuff. And look at all these alarms, right? All these alarms will automatically trigger if these conditions are met. So how do we do that? If we come back over to data protection view and backup infrastructure, we come to the Veeam ONE agent, and we can see that 2 of the 3 of our backup servers have agents installed, right? And we have a button here that says update signatures or import signatures. And what that does is it goes out to Veeam and it downloads, it pulls down those signatures for Veeam Intelligent Diagnostics with all those definitions you saw. And it will actually parse the logs of your BNR server, your proxies, all that good stuff, and look for those conditions. When they're met, they'll simply trigger an alarm. Now, what this does not do, this does not send any of your data to Veeam. This is not a call home thing, right? There's no ET phone home. We're downloading the signatures. Now, you can see this import signatures button. Let's say your Veeam ONE is air gapped. It doesn't have access to the internet. You can go download them and then import them manually. Bring them into your environment, import them manually. But let's go back to our alarms real quick and let's pick one. I don't know what seems interesting here. Backup jobs and backup copy jobs targeting Linux backup repository failed, right? Okay, so here we go. It tells you exactly what's wrong. Backup jobs may fail when attempting to start the Veeam data mover on Linux-based repos observed in 9.5 update 3. Why does it happen? This issue happens due to an issue in the SSH-based connection mechanism. What do we do? To resolve the issue, please upgrade your BNR cert to 9.5, update 3A or later. If you want to contact Veeam technical support, and a lot of Veeam users and administrators, they'll probably just go apply the update, no big deal. If you want to contact Veeam support, make sure you mention this signature ID right here. So when you go online and put in a ticket, or when you call, on the online form, there's a thing, do you have a VID signature? You pop it in there, so when someone from support gets the ticket, they know automatically what your issue is, and they can just streamline that support experience and you can get right to the bottom of what's going on. So that's like the power of VID right there. Not only will it automatically find issues, and right, you might not have even had an issue with this yet, right? You might be using Linux repos and you haven't had an issue yet, but there's potential for this. So VID will also find issues in your environment before they happen, which is just really cool. Helps with the whole availability story, right? We want our backup environment to be highly available because we depend on it if we need to restore VMs or restore an application or anything like that. So that is kind of monitoring Veeam ONE for ransomware in a nutshell. Lots of features and capabilities. With the alarms, there's a couple out of the box, but you can pretty much make alarms on almost anything you want. So you would just come here and say new alarm. It's a virtual machine alarm. There are so many different ways to make alarms. So based on events, specific conditions, or state, you can actually pull in an existing alarm or resource usage. So you can come in here and play with, and kind of once you know your environment and you have a good baseline, which Veeam ONE can help you do, you can learn on basically anything. So that's about it. Remember, don't forget your business view to group your applications. Something really cool we can also do is use our intelligently grouped business view groups to actually push the same data to vSphere as a vSphere tag. So I think maybe I'll show you that next time, how you can create a new group in business view and turn it into a vSphere tag. And vSphere tags are great for all sorts of wonderful reasons, which we'll talk about in our next video.